Scott, can you come out, please? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scott White. Hi, Scott. How are you?
Fine.
Now, how old are you, Scott?
4.
4 years old. Scott, this isn't the first time you've been on stage, is it?
No.
Do you remember what play you were in before?
Yes.
What was the name of it?
King and I.
You were in the production of The King and I. So this guy is a seasoned professional up here on the stage, more so than anybody else that's doing this tonight. Scott, do you have any little brothers and sisters?
Yes.
How many do you have?
2.
2 brothers? Do you have any little sisters?
No.
Do you have any big brothers and sisters? How many big brothers do you have?
Don't know.
Don't know. Can you count them on your finger? Can you show me how many on your finger you have? How many big brothers you have? Can you show the fingers? 5, 6, because he's got another one that's coming out there. Okay, and how many older sisters do you have? Do you remember? He's got a lot. All right, Scott, can you go sit on the chair, please, for me? Now, our next speaker is Brad White.
Okay, before I start, I want to explain about Scott. He's going to pretend to be a kid that doesn't listen and does whatever he wants. And so he knows that there's a chocolate bar over here at the other end of the stage on that chair. We're going to pretend that's in another room on the counter. And if he can get over there to that chocolate bar, he gets to eat it. Okay. Now, John said Google can't help you raise 14 kids. I would say Google can't help you raise any cheerful, well-adjusted kids. It can't help you have an awesome marriage. Google, this is where we went for a honeymoon. Marriage starts out with a bang. You start with courtship, engagement, marriage, the honeymoon. Now, this is a secret. We've never shown any pictures to anybody. Nobody knows where we went, so I hope you guys don't recognize any of these pictures. But this is where we all start out. We all start out in love. Jamie and Ben here are in love, and they think their love's going to last a lifetime. Now, how long do you think it's going to last? Why? Why is that? Why is marriage so hard? Why is it so hard? Now, a lot of us started with the idea that we were just going to do whatever comes naturally, and anything else would be faked or forced. But if I'm running a company, and the budget's tight, and payroll comes due, if I just do whatever comes naturally, I'm probably going to go to jail. If you're running a business, there are principles you have to follow, and if you violate the principles, you're going to have to pay for it later on. I'm keeping an eye on you. In marriage, there are principles you have to follow. If you violate the principles, you're going to have to pay for it later on. And that, Scott, and that's true whether you know about the principles or not. So we start out being naive. We think we can just shoot from the hip without putting any thought or planning into it. But being successfully married is just hard. It takes a lot of being intentional. I think it's harder than being a surgeon or an engineer. Being a surgeon, an engineer has to do with skills you can learn, things that are out here. Being a parent, being married has to do with who you are in here. It's just a lot harder. Scott, come here. I want you to quit pretending and just sit here, okay? Thanks. It's just a lot harder. Would you want to go to a surgeon that had a lot of natural ability, and so you thought, I don't need any training or education? No, I want both. I want natural ability and the best training. So why do we think marriage is going to be easier? Why do we think we don't need to put any effort into learning how to do this? If in America, if we had no preparation, we don't put any effort into steadily improving, we don't put any effort into learning how to do this, we would have like a 50% divorce rate. What? Oh, we do have a 50% divorce rate. Well, are you telling me that Jamie and Ben up here, 50% of the people like that are going to get divorced? That's just horrible. That's horrible. Why do we put up with that? But what that tells us is that being successfully married is hard work. Being parenting is even harder work for 3 reasons. 3 reasons. First one is you don't get any good feedback. If I go to my 13-year-old and say, what can I do to be a better parent? He's going to give you useful advice like, well, let me drive the car. The second thing is you don't get timely feedback. If I'm working with my 3-year-old, you don't really see the results of that until they're 13. And for most people, that's too late. Not for us, but... The third reason is they're not trying to cooperate with you. Your spouse wants to have a healthy relationship. They're going to work with you on that. Your kids, not so much. A doctor friend of mine said he was going through his training, his classes. He took some family relationship classes, and as a result, he was giving his relatives child training tips. Now, after he was married and had kids, he said, what was I thinking? So one of the reasons Google can't help us, they have thousands of ideas, but they can't tell you what the results will be 10 years from now. But we were lucky. Early on, we had some mentors. We could see their kids. We could see what they were doing was working. They had well-behaved, cheerful, confident kids. They had a loving, growing marriage. And so we wanted to be like that. We could see that's where we wanted to be 20 years from now. And luckily, thankfully, that's where we are today, 20 years later. Tomorrow is our 21st anniversary. So my recommend... Now, in practice, the principles of marriage and parenting are the same, are quite different. If I have a baby here at my feet that's crying, I'm going to pick it up. What have I just done? I've trained it that if it wants to be picked up, it's going to cry. And if I've got my wife here crying, no, wait, you handle that completely differently. But the point is that if you do what comes naturally, you're going to be in big trouble either way. I'm going to be giving I only had 5 minutes here, so I didn't have time to give all the principles and stories and so forth that you wanted to hear. But I'm going to be giving a longer talk, also sponsored by FireSpring. Thank you, FireSpring. We're going to announce that. Follow us on Twitter, @FireSpring. And now think back to Jamie and Ben here. Maybe you were in their position a few years ago. How's that working out for you? Now, you have a few years under your belt. You know what's facing you. Men and women, I say, we can do this. This is worth doing.